Upon arriving at the school, they entered and then they opened fire. As police tactical forces surrounded the school, 2 more gunshots were heard.
It was 2008. In most parts of the world, MySpace and Facebook were dominating the social media landscape. But in Brazil, there was something else entirely. A platform called Orkut. Created by Google, Orkut was Brazil's version of Facebook before Facebook existed. It allowed users to make public communities based on anything: anime, politics, conspiracy theories, and hate. Among these thousands of groups was a name that kept appearing, again and again: Marcelo Val Silveira Melo. At the time, Marcelo was a university student living in Brasilia, but online he went by a different name, Psycl0n, a deliberate reference to Zyklon B.
Zyklon B would be released, and within minutes, everyone would be dead.
The chemical used in Nazi gas chambers. He wasn't hiding his views, he was celebrating them. On Orkut, Marcelo filled forums with violent fantasies, posts praising school shooters, essays defending rape, comments fantasizing about mass killings. He wasn't subtle, he wasn't joking, he was serious. In 2011, he was arrested, not for writing offensive things, but for actively planning a terrorist attack against Black and LGBTQ+ university students. He spent a short time behind bars, but when he got out, the internet had changed. Orkut was dying, and he'd been banned from every major platform. So, he built his own. In 2013, Marcelo launched Dogolachan, an anonymous message board modeled after 4chan, but with one core difference. This wasn't just a place to post edgy memes. It was a place to plan real-world violence. And for years it existed in the shadows, growing, evolving, radicalizing. Until one day, it spilled into reality. Dogolachan wasn't just a forum. It was a manifesto with a reply button. A place where Brazil's most dangerous users gathered to build something darker than most could imagine. The site was modeled after 4chan's infamous pole board, but with even fewer boundaries. Hosted on the deep web, Dogolachan promised true anonymity: no moderation, no rules, no consequences. At the top was Marcelo, still using the alias Psycl0n. He wasn't alone. Another name kept appearing, DPR, an equally radical user who acted as Marcelo's right hand. Inside, users weren't just posting memes or trolling. They were planning, organizing. The board hosted missions, coordinated harassment campaigns, leaks private information of journalists, activists, and students. They discussed how to make homemade explosives, how to hide weapons, how to kill. Marcelo and DPR referred to their goal as Columbine 2.0, a direct reference to the 1999 school shooting in the US.
Tonight, more video is coming in from Colorado on that deadly shooting. Now, before it's all over, this may turn out to be the worst mass shooting in US history.
But this wasn't admiration. This was ambition. They wanted copycats, and they were recruiting them. Dogolachan didn't just allow these discussions. It encouraged them. New users were indoctrinated through memes. Ironic at first, then violent, then serious. They were asked to prove loyalty, post extremist content, obey site missions, and once inside, leaving was almost impossible. Any sign of doubt and you'd be doxxed, harassed, targeted. Dogolachan wasn't a website, it was a digital cult. And soon, the world would find out what happened when one of its members took action. It was a normal Wednesday morning in the city of Suzano, Brazil, March 13th, 2019. At around 9:30 a.m., 2 teenage boys walked through the front doors of their former school, carrying weapons. Within minutes, 8 people were dead, 5 of them students, 2 school staff members, 1 passerby, and finally, the 2 perpetrators, who turned the weapons on themselves after the slaughter. It was one of the deadliest school shootings in Brazilian history. But what made it even more horrifying was where it came from. In the aftermath of the shooting, Brazilian federal police began scouring the digital lives of the killers. What they found was chilling. Both attackers were active users of Dogolachan, the same anonymous forum created by Marcelo Vale. They had posted about their plans. They had received encouragement. One of them even asked for advice just days before the massacre. The attack wasn't random. It was premeditated, inspired by Columbine, and publicly supported within the Dogolachan community. Inside Dogolachan, mass murder wasn't condemned, it was glorified. The Suzano killers were treated like martyrs. Their photos were turned into memes, their actions into recruitment tools. The same rhetoric echoed again and again. Columbine 2.0. Dogolachan didn't just tolerate this, it engineered it. Despite growing signs of danger, Dogolachan remained online, hidden but thriving. Users didn't just talk, they radicalized. And the consequences were fatal. 8 people lost their lives that morning. But this wasn't just a tragedy, it was a warning. By 2019, Dogolachan was no longer just an obscure deep web forum. It had been tied to one of the deadliest school shootings in Brazilian history. And for the federal police, that was enough. Marcelo Vale Silveira Melo, already infamous for his past convictions, was arrested once again. Alongside him, other core figures, including DPR, were taken into custody. Inside Marcelo's home, police seized computers, storage drives, and chat logs that documented years of harassment campaigns, violent plots, and explicit material involving minors. The list of charges was staggering: incitement to crime, racism, terrorism, child pornography, and criminal conspiracy. In total, Marcelo would receive a 41-year prison sentence, one of the harshest ever given in Brazil for crimes committed online. In the wake of Operation Illuminate, Dogolachan went offline. The servers were seized. The deep web address went dark. But unlike traditional cults, the ideology didn't die with the leader. Fragments of the community scattered, finding new homes on encrypted apps and other hidden boards. For the victims of Suzano, and for those targeted by Dogolachan's campaigns, the arrests came too late. The site may be gone, but its influence still lingers, whispered in private chats, buried in encrypted archives, waiting for another chance to resurface. The fall of Dogolachan wasn't an ending, it was an evolution. Dogolachan was never marketed as a cult. It called itself an image board, a place for free speech. But inside, it operated exactly like one. At the top sat Marcelo, Psycl0n, and his trusted lieutenant, DPR. Below them, a rotating group of loyal members who enforced the rules, recruited new users, and carried out harassment missions. Members climbed the ranks not by being funny or clever, but by being extreme. Like many cults, it started with humor. Memes, inside jokes, ironic racism. But the irony didn't last. Over time, users were pushed toward more explicit hate speech, conspiracy theories, and violent fantasies. Leaving wasn't simple. Those who questioned the group risked doxing, the public release of their personal information. It created a fear-based loyalty, exactly the kind of control cult leaders rely on. Mass murderers were elevated to hero status inside Dogolachan. Their crimes dissected, analyzed, and romanticized. This wasn't discussion. This was devotion. Dogolachan is gone, but the blueprint remains. A model of how to radicalize, recruit, and weaponize a community from the shadows of the internet. It didn't need a church. It didn't need robes. It didn't even need a name. It was a cult in all but name.
A Polícia Civil concluiu o inquérito do massacre que ocorreu na Escola Estadual Raul Brasil, em Suzano, no dia 13 de março.
Dogolachan is just one example, one hidden corner of the web that bled into the real world. It's easy to think these places are rare, that they're too small to matter. But for the people they radicalize, for the victims they target, they're big enough. Every day, people join groups online believing they're harmless, just jokes, just memes, just friends. But some communities don't just want your attention. They want your loyalty, and eventually, your obedience. You may think you'd never fall for it, but every cult thinks that about its newest member. If you found this video disturbing, share it. The more we understand these hidden spaces, the less power they have. And if you want to hear more stories from the internet's darkest corners, you know where to find me.
Under the school, both gunmen committed suicide. Only half an hour before, 17-year-old Guillermo Tauchi Montero and 25-year-old Luis Enrique de Castro stole a car from a nearby store, killing one person and injuring another in the robbery. Upon arriving at the school, they entered and then they opened fire. Students and teachers hid where they could, silently praying for the gunmen to pass them by.